Disclaimer. Welcome to Two Cops, One Donut podcast. The views and opinions expressed by guests on the podcast are their own and do not necessarily reflect the views of Two Cops, One Donut, its host, or affiliates. The podcast is intended for entertainment and informational purposes only. We do not endorse any guests' opinions or actions discussed during the show. Any content provided by guests is of their own volition, and listeners are encouraged to form their own opinions. Furthermore, some content is graphic and has harsh language. Viewer discretion advised and is intended for mature audiences. Two Cops, One Donut and its host do not accept any liability for statements or actions taken by guests. Thank you for listening. All right, welcome back. I'm your host, Eric Levine, and today I have the privilege of interviewing the Chief of Fort Worth Police Department, Eddie Garcia. How are you, sir?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me.
Not a problem. This is the first time I've formally got to meet you, but as we kind of talked offline, I also do this podcast stuff, so they thought it'd be a good fit for me to come in and try to interview the new chief, try to get to know you on a more of a personal level, and try to let the officers that are out there know who they're working for.
All right, let's do it.
Are you ready?
Let's roll.
Because I am going to ask all the Oprah-style questions.
All right.
And get deep into your psyche. No, I'm not going to do all that. I just want to have fun, be loose, and we kind of told you, it's kind of like a Rogan thing. So first thing I want to get into, sir, is there's a lot of reasons people get into law enforcement. Mm-hmm. For me in particular, one of the things that drew me into it was my grandfather was a firefighter. My dad actually retired police from the department that you're at now. And those are two drawing factors that got me into it, but it wasn't the big reason that drew me into it. The big reason that got me into law enforcement was when I would go to like family reunions and stuff like that. Who got all the respect in the family? Who did people want to sit down and talk to? It was always first responders. It didn't matter if it was military, doctors, any of that stuff. It came down to the first responder life. It was the firefighters, the military, and police. That's who everybody would sit down and talk to. And growing up, seeing that, how they were the life of the party, everybody wanted to talk to them. That was kind of really the big draw for me into law enforcement. I wanted my family to respect what I did. And I did have people in the family that, did it, like my dad and my grandfather. That was another draw, but it wasn't the main factor. It was just the way the family respected them. And I wanted to earn their respect. And I think that's what drew me into law enforcement. So I'm curious, for a guy that's made it all the way up as high as you can go, what drew you into it in the first place?
Oh, man. My reasons are probably a lot simpler. I'll be honest with you. When I was in high school, my sophomore year, we had this research paper called an iSearch paper. And it was like the biggest assignment you could do in your English class, right? My buddy at the time, his dad was a sergeant for a smaller city. And I did my project on him and police work, right? And I ended up starting to like it. And, I'll tell you this, back in the late 80s, early 90s, when I got hired, anybody that got hired back then that tells you the reason they wanted to be a police officer wasn't because of the show Cops at the time would be lying to you. And I tell that to people all the time. Walk out if someone says that back in the late 80s, early 90s, they became a cop and the show Cops had nothing to do with it. Man, I'll be frank with you. I was young. I wanted to catch the bad guy.
Yeah.
I'll be frank with you. I wanted to catch criminals. That's what really drew me to police work. And having that satisfaction, right? One of my first sergeants always would tell me, we had a lot, beat responsibility, things of that nature. And he would say, hey, when you're a beat officer, you're the chief of police of your beat. Yeah. Right. Take that onus responsibility, man. So I loved catching crooks.
Yeah.
I'd like to make it sound like it was, you have great reasons that you wanted to be. For me, I wanted to catch the bad guy.
Yeah.
It was helpful. I speak fluent Spanish, right? So, working with the community and working that and catching crooks in all parts of town. That's what I love doing. That's what I wanted to do. And it's kind of always been part of my cop DNA, and that's really one of the reasons I want to be cop.
Okay, so we're already kind of foreshadowing into some of the stuff we're going to talk to much later, but I can guarantee right now when officers hear their chief say that, they're going to be, this might be my guy. This might be my guy.
We'll talk more about it. I am who I am, and I wear it on my sleeve, and I'm very honest with people of how I got promoted. I got here a different path.
Yeah.
I want people to know there's not one way to become a chief if that's what they want to do.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, I just wanted to catch crooks. That's as a 21-year-old kid. That's one of the reasons I wanted. I wanted to solve problems, solve people problems, and I'd say by catching crooks, you're solving a lot of problems. And
Yeah.
so that's,
And Cops was a major influence on
Cops
that.
was a huge. I mean, who didn't
Yeah.
want? I mean, come on.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know when it became taboo to talk about how cool that show was to see cops, taking the criminal element off the street.
Yeah.
Like,
Bro, as soon as you
I mean,
heard,
come on.
you were like, I'm in. Right now, I'm in. As
man,
soon as you heard it.
It was. I mean, I tell you what, if you were to look back and if people were honest, those like me that got hired in the late 80s, early 90s, I mean, the reason why, there was a big hiring push back then. I remember when I applied to the San Jose Police Department, they would have 2 big hiring cycles a year, and there was like 4,000 people applied for 45 spots.
Yeah.
Right. And it was a usual thing. I mean, and I'm sure those, and whether it was cops, right, or whether it was the movies that showed, or that showed all that stuff played a role. But you kind of like, wow, that's freaking cool. I want to catch crooks. I want to solve people's problems, and I want to catch the criminal element.
Yep. I remember when my dad was on it. It wasn't.
Oh,
him.
your dad was on it.
They didn't follow him. He just showed up to a scene. And I remember seeing him like, oh my God. I call him up, Dad, you're on Cops. He's like, it showed up. He didn't know that he was fully in it. And it was one of those days you look up to your dad. You're like, dang, that's awesome. That's famous.
Pretty cool, yeah.
I wish they would have followed him around. But I mean, Fort Worth was one of their flagship cities that they were at. Actually, on my other side projects that I do for podcasting, we had Jerry Worms, who's the very first officer they ever followed around. Out of Florida. I can't remember. Maybe it was Miami-Dade. But yeah, we had him on. He was talking about
Miami-Dade, Broward County.
Yeah.
I mean, I think Broward County was probably on that show, constantly. Right?
Yeah. He was famous because he carried nunchucks.
Ah.
Yeah. Jerry Worms carried nunchucks, so badass. But
San Diego PD used to have, I don't know if they still do, but they used to have nunchucks as part of their
they called them foldable batons.
something like that.
Yeah. I'm like, it's a nunchuck, bro.
I was never at,
You mean, you were a product of the 80s. We had the Ninja Turtles during that era. I mean,
man, I'm a product of the 70s, 80s, 90s, and you name it. But yeah, I was more of a straight baton guy. I wasn't really into the.
Okay.
But.
All right. So you jump into law enforcement. Did you take the typical path where you were like, I got to go get a degree. I got to go do this? What?
Nah, absolutely not, man. I was, I applied, there's 3 places I would apply for, right? I born in Puerto Rico, moved to San Jose, California, when I was young. Yeah, I was born on the island, which is why I have my Boricua tattoo on there. So no, I was born on the island, moved to California at a young age, right? So I learned how to speak English in San Jose, right? And so being a police officer in San Jose was a big deal to me, right? Because I'm like, listen, I learned to speak English here, man. So if you're new here, whatever, I understand. And so it was important to me for San Jose. But back in the early 90s, man, it was really hard to get into public safety, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I applied when I was 20 and a half years old. I applied. Couldn't be a cop in California until you're 21. And I spoke Spanish fluently, right? Like as I mentioned before, right? And back in those days, if you spoke Spanish, had a clean record and had a pulse,
You were shoo-in.
you were a shoo-in into public safety, whether it was fire and PD, right? So chose PD. I got hired. I turned 21 in December, and I started in February, that following February, right? So in 1992, and went through that. I had my 2 years in college, and really worked, most of the units, right? I worked patrol, worked narcotics enforcement, worked on the SWAT team, did fugitive apprehension.
Oh.
Then I got promoted to sergeant.
Okay.
And I worked in general detectives as a homicide investigator. And then I got promoted back up. So after SWAT in fugitive apprehension, I got promoted to sergeant. And then as a sergeant, I worked in general detectives. It's called the Night Detective Bureau. And then I was a homicide investigator. Then I got promoted to lieutenant from there. And
So as a sergeant, you were investigating homicides?
yes,
Oh, okay.
yes, we investigated homicides. We didn't.
Gotcha.
It wasn't. It was a different thing. So as a sergeant, actually, my partner, which ended up being the worst kept secret. When I became chief, he became my executive assistant chief, which is probably the department's worst kept secret. But as it comes to it, right? So lieutenant. So this is when I got the words that we all hate in this line of work sometimes, but I'm so glad that it happened. The executive assistant at the time, calls me in and he goes, "You know what, Eddie? We need to round you out." Right. So I got sent to be the lieutenant over community affairs, community services division, which honestly, man, the 2.5, I think about 2.5 years or so that I spent there was awesome, man. That was the first time, to be honest with you, that there's more to this job than the things we wear around our belt.
I was going to say, how did that, I want to side rabbit pat this one real quick. You went from being a street goon, basically. I
don't want to use the term goon,
old vernacular. I know.
I was a cop.
He was a cop. He was a cop's cop from what it sounds like. And jumping into community, hearing that would be so demoralizing. So the fact that you came out of that with a different perspective sounds like whoever mentored you into that position did you a solid.
Well, did me an absolute solid,
Yeah.
knowing now, right where I'm at now, that I wouldn't be able to hear if I didn't do that, right? I needed to get rounded out, and see things from a different perspective. And again, recognizing that this job is more than what we wear around our belts, and it's so important to get out there and dealing with the programs and getting out with our community and making sure that, we put our best face forward and make sure that we're there for the community and realize, hey, we're the community's us. So it was a great time spent there. So, after that, same executive assistant calls me in his office one day and he goes, "Hey, where do you want to go? You want to go to homicide or do you want to go to intelligence?" And I'd been in homicide already, right? And I was having kids. My kids were younger. And I know what it entails to be in homicide, right? And and I had done it already. So I'm like, you know what? Because in Intel, it was special investigations, right? So it was intelligence, special investigations, and vice, right? So I'm like, oh, that's pretty cool. So I did that. So I went to Intel that worked out of the chief's office. And I did that for a few years. Then I got promoted to captain. That was kind of the equivalent of the commander role here. And, as a captain, worked in patrol, worked in investigations. I had the person side of investigations, and then went back to patrol. And that was the time when the chief comes into my office one day, and he goes, "Hey, I want you to be a chief here, but you got to get your degree." Right. So I think I was like 40 years old or so and went back to school. Right. And waking up early and, having kids, waking up early, like at 4:30. So I tell people now, I go, "Hey, listen, man, this would have been much easier to have done when I was 21.
Yeah.
But got my degree later in life. Right. Which ended up being huge. But there's some things happened when I was a captain rank that this is where I did things a little different. Right. I'll never forget, my chief calls me one day and he goes, "Hey, listen, I want to send you to the FBI Academy."
Okay.
And I pause there and I go, "Well, I'm coaching my kids in Little League, right? I can't go, right?" So he tries to talk me into it, but I say, "I can't go." And so later on that year, he asked me again, "Want to send you to the FBI Academy? I know you couldn't go last time, but this time I'm coaching my kids in Pop Warner football." And I go, "I can't go.
Yeah.
I'm not doing that, right?" And I say this because this is no fault for anybody that's gone to the FBI Academy for personal growth and things of that nature, right? But I don't have a gold brick on my desk. I've never gone to the FBI Academy, and God bless the people that do. Just wasn't the right time for me. But back in those days, and I don't know how it is now, because we can get into this later, because I really can give 3 shits if someone goes to an FBI Academy or not. When I promote them, that's not what I'm looking for. We can get into that, because that's not what happened to me, right? But it's interesting because I talk about this all the time, and I go, that's usually a career ender when you say no twice to go to the FBI Academy. And I'm like, you know what? I thought to myself, man, if my career ends at the San Jose Police Department as a captain, man, that's been a great career, and I'm good with it. But obviously,
and you can sleep at night. You took care of your family.
Oh yeah, I mean, my kid. I mean, listen, coaching my kids in Little League and in Pop Warner, I coached them in everything until they got into high school was one of the best things ever, right? So I tell people all the time, I go, You know, I don't know exactly what the FBI Academy would have taught me to have been a better cop. You know, but man, I remember every home run.
Yeah.
And I remember every touchdown. And I would have made the same decision again, even now. So didn't go, but obviously some people had faith in me. Continue rising up through the ranks. Ended up getting promoted to deputy chief, then assistant chief. And as a deputy chief, I oversaw investigations again. Then I did admin, which I 100% needed. I became the executive assistant.
I'm glad you liked it.
Well, but listen, I'll tell you what, I had to learn. I had to get into that. I mean, particularly as I look back now, at least you got to be in this job a mile wide and an inch deep, right? But you got to know a little bit about everything.
Right.
And had I not had that experience, there's no way I would have been, right? And so, you know, was executive assistant chief. I think in 2012, I became the number 2 in San Jose in 2012. And then ultimately the chief there starting in 2016, right? And so I got there in a path that, quite frankly, most chiefs don't get there that way, right? You get your degrees and your doctorates, and you're in everything either but patrol or in administration roles. That's not me. That's not how I got there. So, you know, when I've gone around the country and talked to prospective chiefs and things of that nature, I'm like, man, there's more than one way to do it. But ultimately, there's people that believed in me, right? There's people that opened the door for me, and I owe them everything. And so that's how I got, at least at the chief's level. And it wasn't generally the usual path I think that most have taken.
Okay, so full disclosure. First, there's one caveat that I was supposed to tell you about that I forgot at the beginning. I don't normally have this ridiculous mustache, just so you know. Normally I'm full bearded out.
Was it for Halloween?
I have a military ceremony that I have to go to at the end of this week.
Okay.
So I shaved my beard, and I just thought of how ridiculous I probably look right now with this stupid mustache. So I want to make sure I got that caveat. So when our people are watching this, at least they know now why I have this creepy mustache. I just had to get that out there. Second thing, you know, like any cop would do, I started reaching out to people that you'd been over. And one rare thing that I will tell you that I found out was nobody, either from the street levels that I was friends with or a little higher up, nobody had anything bad to say. So that's a good, like me as a cop, like that's a good sign. If you've either got nothing to say or really good things, that's all I care for. Like, that's what I want. But if everybody's like, oh my God, he was horrible. But most people that I talked to, they honestly said, he never affected me. Like, that's a good thing. So I wasn't really worried. So when I got to do this interview, I was like, cool. Because of the reputation you got coming in here, I knew you'd be open to some of these questions. So one of the questions through what you just told me that I really want to know, because I really got the vibe that you're a cop's cop. You made it a different way. I didn't know that. What was the vibe like for a cop's cop to step into that ivory tower area? And then you've got historically speaking, most ivory towers, they don't think like cops. They think of liability, bottom line, stuff like that all the time. What was it like for you to step into that role?
Well, I'll say, I mean, to the point you made, liability, bottom line, this and that and the other, that all plays a part in it. I'd be lying if it didn't. The part that I bring, that I hope other people bring in too, is that you also have to include that cop part in all that. So I guess I just like take the job, man. Like if I was sitting in the back room and what would I want the chief to say, right?
Yeah.
Like what would I want the support to be? Good, bad, or indifferent, man. Like I've knocked down doors. I've interviewed homicide suspects that have killed children from me to you. I understand that life. I've run search warrants and I've been on perimeters and I remember that stuff, right? Yeah. And it was, I mean, it's part of who I am, right? And so it just plays an important role in how you lead. Your people got to see you as one of them, right? That's the biggest thing, I think. And I've worked for chiefs that, that guy's not like me.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And your people have to see you as one of them. As you might know, and this is part of it, doing this with you, but Fridays are my Lincoln on Leadership Fridays, right? Where, you know, I'll do admin during the day, and like in the afternoons, I'm going to do things like this or visit units or, you know, like last week I rode out with the horses.
Oh, we did the mounted unit.
I
Hell
did
yeah.
the mounted.
That's fun, ain't it?
Mounted last week. Yeah, I love riding the horses, and I'm looking forward to the stock show when I'm in that parade, and I had to start getting ready for it.
You got a cowboy hat, right?
Absolutely.
Okay. I know Dallas for a while they weren't wearing cowboy hats.
Well, Dallas with the cowboy hats are trying to be like us. Let's just
face it. They've always been trying to be like us, even when you were there. No offense, but
well, listen, I will say this: it's a good competition we have. But I'll say this, and I say this all the time: the only reason I am here, sitting next to you, is because of the men and women of the Dallas Police Department for the amazing work they did. So it's a friendly competition.
Yeah, it is.
I love those people. I love those men and women.
I would get no respect back at work if I didn't talk a little
I know,
smack.
I get it. I completely get it, but I always will be true that we'll have fun with it, but they know, and I've said it, and they're listening. I'm only here because of them. But, you know, I think we just got to remember what it was like when we were cops, right? Yeah. And understanding that. And yeah, all that stuff plays a role, whether it's, you know, the community relationships, the accountability piece to it, right? And everything that you mentioned, but never forgetting where you came from.
Yeah.
And I wear it. I mean, that's as I am. The best compliment I ever got. I was doing a similar podcast such as this, and I'll never forget, Joe King gave me the best compliment I've ever got in my life. As he says at the end of the podcast, he goes, "Hey, you know what, boss? You're an old street cop masquerading as a 4-star chief."
Yeah.
And I'm not quite certain there's any chief in this country that would not think that that's the best compliment
Yeah.
that they could ever get. But it truly is the best compliment I ever got. Yeah. And so that's what I kind of bring to it. You know, no one, you know, I like to think, listen, there's two things, and two things can be true. No one cares about their community more than I do. But no one wants to take a criminal to jail more than I do either. And those two things aren't mutually exclusive. And again, I hold officers accountable, but I love my officers, and you know, and both things can be true, right?
Yeah.
Those aren't mutually exclusive either. And so, you know, that's what I like to think I bring.
It's a breath of fresh air for a guy like me, for other cops that I work with, to hear stuff like that, because traditionally in the U.S. we only hear that from sheriffs, because sheriffs are elected. So you're in a position that isn't elected, and it's more risky for you. Even to talk this way is more risky for you. So respect for that. I like that a lot. Speaks volumes to your character. And again,
but again, I mean, I don't know what's, you know, it's when you say that, that's what's wrong.
yes,
That's what's
preaching to the choir, brother.
There's not a neighborhood, and I say this all the time. You know, there's not a neighborhood, and I'm not an office guy. I spend less time in my office than anything because I want to be out there, whether it's talking to the troops or going to the community and hearing from the community. And I've not been in one community meeting that's impacted by crime, regardless of language spoken, racial makeup, or economic status, that I have ever heard the words, "We want to see less of you on our streets."
Yeah.
I've never. So I say that confidently, and I feel I can speak that way because I've always heard, yes, our community is going to hold us accountable. We need to hold ourselves accountable. There's no question about it, but they don't want us to go away, and they want to feel safe, and they want the criminal element taken off the street, but we have to do it in the right way.
Yeah.
There's nothing like, again, those terms are not mutually exclusive. And I think the rank and file, it resonates with rank and file, but it resonates with the community in the other way as well, where we're going to do our jobs. We're going to do it right.
Yeah.
So again, I've done it, you know, I've seen it and I've heard it. And so that's why I think more of us need to speak out just about the fact, like, hey, listen, yes, we need to take care of our community. We need to hold ourselves accountable. There's no question. We have to do everything the right way, right? We have to treat our community with respect. We have to do things procedurally just, but we also have to take the criminal element off the street.
Mm-hmm.
We have to enforce the law. We have to be out there and visible. We have to make sure our communities just don't see us in a moment of crisis. We have to do all those things, but we have to do our jobs.
Yeah. Yep. Agreed. Okay. So let's go back. You did homicide. You did a bunch of stuff. One of the things I'm very interested in is your fugitive apprehension stuff. That's always been a dream of mine. I never got to do it. And I love all the guys that have ever been a part of our fugitive teams that I've worked with. They've just, to me, that was cream of the crop guys. Like, they're out there dealing with the most dangerous of dangers all day long. And their professionalism, their ability to deconflict, just seeing how they operate, and you see cars and the way that they find targets and stuff like that. Like, to me, that is the fun side of policing. I always looked at it like that way. So in your background, what was your top two focuses? Was fugitive one of those? I'm just trying to figure out what your top two specialties were. Can you pull that mic just push it this way towards me a little? Yeah, there you go. So it's just in front of you.
God, there's so many things, so many good times that we had. I mean, honestly, I'm not just saying this, but honestly, the time in community affairs was great. But from a cop's perspective, from a catching the crook perspective, yeah, fugitive apprehension was very satisfying. There's no question about it. So was homicide.
Okay, so in the fugitive side of things, one, what was your training? What did it take to get into that? In what year are we talking?
We're talking late 90s.
Okay, so late 90s. Give a little perspective. What era we're talking about? So body cams.
I'm old.
Well, body cams weren't a thing. When you talk to some of these patrol guys, you just you sit there and you think of how you policed, and you're like, you don't know a time that a body cam didn't exist. You don't know a time a drone didn't exist, and you don't know a time a real-time crime center didn't exist.
Right.
That's a totally different style of policing when I first started.
Yes.
And for you especially. So in fugitive, what was the training like in the late 90s to get into that?
Well, it was interesting because we did fugitive out of SWAT, right? So it was like a collateral assignment. So we would
that's what you meant when you said
yes.
I thought you did SWAT and fugitive.
No, we got into fugitive apprehension out of SWAT, right? So we had we did SWAT in our collateral assignment when we weren't getting call outs and serving warrants. Was what we would do on a day-to-day basis would be fugitive apprehension.
So you did both fun things.
Yeah, no. So we had the tactical training from the SWAT perspective. And then honestly, my sergeant at the time, under retiring, he's the captain, and I'll give him credit, named Jeff Smith, right? And he came up with the idea that he wanted us to start doing this on our when we weren't doing the stuff. So we turned into fugitive apprehension. And so we started doing all sorts of training. We had our team leaders went down to LAPD. Mm-hmm. And saw what the SIS did down there from an undercover capacity and things of that nature. We started doing car jam. We started doing training with we called them car jams back in the late 90s, and really going through the bureaus and really getting who was the worst of the worst in the city, and we would start working with them, right? And start apprehending them. And so we would do tail training, right? We put an academy together. That went through a whole, week of just surveillance and things of that nature. But the tactical side was always there, right? So it was kind of cool.
So you always got the SWAT training.
It was kind of cool where, regardless who we were going after, we're a SWAT team.
Yeah.
So we have the training to, okay, he's in the house. All right, let's go. I mean, and so it was kind of both. We were in plain clothes, but we'd throw in our stuff after. And so, man, but I tell you what, probably the busiest I've ever been in my life, right? Because fortunately or not, right? We can have a late night, and we start. Let's say we finish off relatively early, catching the first guy or something, and we get a line on a guy at 7, right? Well, once you start, you don't stop,
yeah,
right? So that'd be a long night, right? So. But yeah, we had our jugs in the back of the car.
Gatorade bottle. That's my favorite.
Gatorade. Yeah. We were ready to go, right? Yeah. And so that was a lot of fun. I mean, from the training that we go in through now, it's so different back then because we started from scratch, right? It was an idea that my sergeant had at the time. He's like, I think we should do this, and so that's what we started doing.
Dang.
Right?
Okay.
And so
I like the innovation. That's because that's like how the real-time crime center. Like we kind of talked offline about that. One of the ways that we got kicked off with the real-time crime center before we knew what we had was an injured zero tolerance guy, Dalton Webb. He was injured, and he's like, I still want to be useful to my team. So he's a radio and a laptop, and he was gathering intel for his team. It's a 10-person team that's down to 9, but they're more productive with him behind the scenes doing what we call now real-time crime center behind the scenes. So it seems like the same thing with you guys. A SWAT team is, holy cow, you just made that unit, because who knows how many, I don't know San Jose, right? Yeah. I don't know how often call outs were happening in San Jose.
They didn't happen all the time, right? And so what in that unit it's called merge. And it was one of those things again that I don't know why they just didn't call it SWAT. Now to be in merge, to have been in merge is now that's the name. So we're very proud of that name. But it's one of those things where you sit back and go, I
What
don't
does
know
it
why.
stand for?
Mobile Emergency Response Group and Equipment. Because I am assuming at some point someone thought SWAT was too scary.
Oh, okay.
Maybe.
Okay.
We
I mean,
know
it's California.
we,
I get it.
we know that those things happen.
You're gonna get a lot of shit for that. You know that,
But
right?
I've gotten a lot of shit for it. We didn't get into that. I mean, when I first got to Dallas, they were saying, "Don't California our DPD." That was a rallying cry when I got there. But, it's called Merge, right? But that's the SWAT team, and so originally, what we would do is we would go out in unmarked cars, and we would go throughout the city, just being self-initiating things, right?
Yeah.
But then the sergeant goes, listen, this isn't productive, right? Why don't we do something that's not being done, right? The Bureau has a myriad of warrants after, and there's really no one going after them, right? So why not us start doing something that's more effective?
Yeah.
And you know how it is? At first, we're like, I don't want to do that, right? Because it's a lot more fun to just go out throughout the city and do whatever I want. And so my sergeant, I remember Jeff going, yeah, I know, I get that's a lot more fun, but it's not as efficient. So this is not necessarily about having fun. Let's have fun doing something that actually matters.
Yeah.
And so looking back, we went, I don't say we were kicking and screaming that this is a new mission, but when you get reined in to yeah, you don't get to do whatever you want. Yeah. This is much more efficient, but we really took pride in that.
And cops don't like change. So we know that.
Well, they don't like two things. We don't like two things: change and the way things are. Those are the two things that we don't like, right? We don't like change and the way things are, right?
Exactly.
We know that,
we'll like to complain about it.
We do.
But the moment you start changing stuff to fix that problem, then we're like, that ain't gonna work.
Yeah, no,
that's not gonna work.
That'll never work. No. So anyway, so that was a great time, and now actually born out of that, San Jose then actually created their own fugitive unit.
Okay.
So it's separate from SWAT.
Okay.
Right?
That's what I was wondering. Did it create the need? You showed success.
It created a need. So they actually, born out of that was a unit that specifically became that. And we were the originators of it. So it's pretty cool that we started that, right? And it was fun being part of that. Great group of guys. Man, the camaraderie was awesome.
And what's cool to see something like that from kind of a bigger picture police perspective is that wasn't an idea born out of a chief. That was an idea born out of the guys out there doing it, and then having a chief that gets behind it and says, you're right, it's working, keep doing it. Like having that support.
Exactly right. And I always say this, the sergeant position is the most important position in the police department.
Yeah, you're jumping ahead of me because I was going to get to that later on.
Well, listen, I've talked to the truth. I mean, I wear 4 stars. My position isn't the most important. The sergeant's position is, and this was a sergeant that had this idea that now his legacy is that it was so important. It shows so much value that it's permanently ingrained, right?
Yep.
Or it got ingrained. And so, and as a chief now, that's when you get most excited, man. When ideas come from the bottom up, that's the best place to be, right? And that was a great example.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. That's fun. Okay, so that was your first fave. What was your second favorite? Was it the community stuff?
Well, community was in there, right? But when you're talking about putting the community stuff, really was the glue that put me all together.
Okay,
that's what I'll say.
Shaped you.
Yeah. But homicide.
Okay.
I wasn't there as long as most guys, and gals are in now forever. We had a rotation policy in San Jose, so you couldn't be in there that long anyway.
Really? How long do you
I
remember?
believe at the time it was 5 years.
Okay, because I think that's the minimum time you should give.
I don't disagree. I don't disagree. I don't know. I don't agree that you should have just been in there that long, or in a lot of units, right?
Yeah. That's one that in particular, man, when you talk to some of these seasoned homicide guys and you sit back and you're like, this would take me a lifetime to get to that level.
100%.
And I think at 5 years in homicide, unless you're just really squared away, I'm not going to say I was. That's why I never went to homicide. It probably interests every person that ever becomes a detective because it's the cream of the crop when it comes to that. But I think if you're truly looking out for the community, for the victims, you got to be true to yourself. Like I knew I was going to promote. And I knew that I couldn't give them the time that they deserve. So that's why I never went for it. So I'm just curious, like having a time limit, like how's your view on that now versus when you?
Oh no, I don't. I don't think 5 years was enough. And I'll be honest with you, you can look at it every unit, right? I mean, and again, I mean, so, but yeah, but the cases that were worked, and the interviews that I had to do, that, you know, I still remember to this day, you know, those still sit, right? And it was it was fulfilling. I mean, it's obviously a horrible situation that you're there, having to do what you have to do, but to get, you know, to be able to make a case, and to talk to people, to have them talk to you, right? That's pretty awesome, right?
Especially when they're free to go. Like if you can get somebody to talk to you and they're free to go, like that's a technique I learned from homicide guys. I'm like, what do you mean they're free to go? Like you suspect this person to possibly commit a homicide and you're going to let them go? And they're like, yeah, we're having a consensual encounter right now. It's like, I don't understand. I don't get that technique. Yeah. I didn't get it. So, you know, you start watching how they do things and you're like, oh, you start putting it all together. Like, wow, okay, that's really smart. That's why you do this job and I don't. Now for you, was this in the 90s again?
This was, let's see, we're talking at this point. No, this is in the early 2000s.
What was the training like for? Was the read technique like a common practice? Were they making you guys go through certain interview training?
They didn't force you to do that. There were interview and interrogation classes that you would go to.
Okay.
You know, to get ready for it. And generally speaking, you had to have some other things, right? So as an example, Merge, having been in Merge, was a unit that was highly thought of, right?
Okay. So you had the prestige behind.
You had a little, so you had some seasoning to do that. And, you know, you're already talking to people, you're already interviewing people, you're having some techniques and understanding things. And then, yeah, there's classes that you can go to with regards to it. But, you know, honestly, you know, once you're there, I mean, and that's the expectation is the people that were getting into those units have had some experience doing something, right? Yeah. And that's another opportunity, though. I got a shot. Listen, I'm not going to lie to you and tell you there were some people when I got into homicide that goes, how did you got to homicide? You weren't an investigator before. Yeah. But there was a lieutenant that brought me to homicide by the name of Glenn McCordy, he passed away. That was one of the best cops that San Jose had. And he had been in Merge before as well. And so he gave me a chance. And so like so I made the most of my chances, right? And so gave me an opportunity. And again, it was a very fulfilling time there.
Yeah, I can tell you in the training that I've had with interrogation stuff, and that was one of my favorite things in my career that I didn't expect was interrogating and interviewing. My success rate, I will tell you to this day, unless they shut me down with asking for a lawyer immediately, I would at least get, I was batting 1,000. I would at least get some sort of omission to put my cases together. And out of all the training that I got, the streets are and being able to talk to people, having the social skills to talk to people, that's what I relied on. It had nothing to do a lot of the time with the quote unquote, you know, professional training with read technique and all that stuff. I would take maybe a little piece of those and use them in my own tool belt. But for the most part, it was just talking to people. And just like you said, like two of the best people I've ever watched work, Tom Gearling and Matt McMeans. They're people that you might get to know. Their ability to get confessions or omission or any of that, watching those guys work without any professional training as far as interrogation goes, inspired me. I'm like, oh my God, okay, so I don't need to rely on that stuff. I can still be myself and be highly successful in what I'm doing. Just kind of the point of what you're saying is, yeah, you may not have went through the normal channels, but if it works, it works. And if somebody can recognize what you're doing as being successful, like that's what it takes. That's why having a sergeant is so key, that pays attention to what's going on, right? But having the confidence in your ability. So that's good to hear. Did you enjoy the interrogation side of things?
Yeah, no, very much so. Yeah, I really enjoyed it. I mean, and again, you know, if you look at the amazing work that our homicide unit does, I mean, we got like almost a 100% rate, like 90% plus or what have you. I mean, they're amazing. Yeah. And particularly with all the hoops that you have to jump through, you know, on different things now, you know, it's fascinating. I'm so proud of them. I mean, but I you know, I know how hard they work, right? I know what they have to do. And so I'm just, it's fantastic what our guys are doing and gals are doing.
Agreed. Okay. So we've hit on two highlights of your career that you were really into, and I like bringing that up because I think it helps people see when they see the glint in your eye when you start talking about it, because they can, cops are bullshit detectives. Like just me talking, you got me pumped up talking about it. That's why I want to get in the interrogation side again, because I had fun doing that as a cop, and seeing you do that, our guys they're gonna resonate with that a lot, I think. So I want to move into you going from doing the fun stuff, jumping all the way up to chief. Now you did chief jobs in San Jose, Dallas, and now here.
Yes.
Culturally speaking, because we touched on it, you're coming from California. I have never lived in California. I can only assume, and that's where you probably got the whole feedback of don't California or Texas and all that stuff.
Yeah, I've heard that a few times.
Yeah.
Yes.
So coming in and being probably one of the only people that can talk from experience, the culture of policing from California to Dallas to Fort Worth, are you seeing huge differences?
Well, not with the men and women.
So policing stayed
policing's policing,
Okay,
right?
good.
And I'll say to the men and women of the San Jose Police Department, the only reason I got a chance at Dallas was because of them. Wasn't because of me. Was because of them. And the policing cops are cops, man. They want to feel supported. They want to be able to do their jobs. They're looking at you to put them in the best positions to succeed, right? And so that wasn't necessarily it. I always talk about the biggest difference is support. I've said this before, there's a lot of people that support law enforcement in California. But at the time where I was there and making decisions to leave, there were people that would support law enforcement that are always afraid of standing up and saying they supported law enforcement for fear of some sort of retaliation or something. Getting to Texas, completely different. The support that we get here, and I know when you're all from here, you think this is the way it is everywhere. It is not.
It's not. I came from Michigan.
Okay, it's not,
Yeah.
right? And I tell this as a community, and particularly here in Fort Worth, we're even more unique, because I think we're in the most supportive state in the country when it comes to public safety, and I truly believe that we're in the most supportive city, in the most supportive state, major city, in the most supportive state in the state of Texas. And so support is the biggest difference, right? Yeah. We did our recruiting video where you have our city manager and our mayor saying they support the blue and back the blue. I mean, honestly, you take a step back. You don't see that in a lot of places, and they're not doing it because they're being forced to. They truly, really believe in what they're saying. So it really comes back to the biggest differences is the support. I had an opportunity when I was in Dallas. One of my officers was getting the Star Texas Award, and Governor Abbott gave an amazing speech. I've had the opportunity to meet the governor a few times, but Governor Abbott, that was one of the first times I had heard Governor Abbott. So he gives the amazing speech of his support for law enforcement, right? And as my officer's walking on stage to get the award, I was able to say hi to the governor, right? And so I said, Governor, thank you for those words. I have never heard a governor speak like that to law enforcement, so thank you. So he looks at me and he goes, where are you from? Oh. And that's the point when I tell this story that everyone starts laughing.
Yeah.
And I go, well, sir, I'm from California. And he goes, yeah, we're a little different here.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yes, sir, we are very, very different here. But little things, right? I get to Texas, and probably in the time I was a chief in San Jose, and I was a chief in San Jose for almost 5 years, right? I didn't get invited one time to come to the Capitol to speak on major law enforcement issues, right? They would make decisions without really bringing major chiefs in. And when I got to Texas, as I sit here today, I can't even count how many times I've been invited to Austin to speak on something or testify on something because they care. Mm-hmm. Now, it may not turn out the way we want, but the mere fact that ask us and invite us in, it's something that also I don't think happens everywhere, mm-hmm. right? In any event, that's at least those are my experiences.
Okay.
And so I would just say the biggest difference is support.
Okay. I agree with you. I grew up in Flint, Michigan.
Oh, okay.
I know you're not aware of that, but cops are not very well liked up there. Police support is very rare. And when I separated from active duty military, I became a cop up in Michigan, Saginaw, Michigan. And it was the same reason I got out. There just was no support. You're asking for a millage, they get denied. There's just all this different stuff that not seeing the support. And I applied all over the nation to places that I thought would be really good. I just happened to get hired down here first. It was the fastest route to get out of that. And that has been one of the biggest surprises to me as well. You knew it was here, but until you feel it and see it, when you sit down at a restaurant and all of a sudden somebody, you go to pay and it's already been paid for. You don't even know who paid for it. They don't tell you. Like, I never experienced that up there. Nothing like that. So seeing that and hearing it down here firsthand, exactly what you're saying. So I think you and I, coming from outside perspectives, really help with the officers that I call purists. They only know this. Like, you don't know how good you have it.
I say that's it's almost cliche. I say that
you don't
quite
know
often.
how good you have it. The military really saved my life in a way where Flint for me was like the Matrix. I didn't know I was in it until I escaped it, and then you see successful cities and things booming and all that stuff. Texas is where base camp or boot camp is at. So coming down to Texas and seeing everything growing and all of that, I never experienced that up in Flint. Everything had always been closing, continuous closing. GM shops, AC, Ford, all this stuff, always constantly closing. So when I come down here and I see that, that's one of the things I'm like, dude, you're complaining that you got to go to training. You're complaining about training. You know what I trained in? I was in a dang abandoned building. It was a condemned building. If we got lucky, I got so much training thrown at me here. I got to pick and choose which ones I like. That's such a good problem to have. And so giving perspective, outside perspective like that. So I was just curious, coming from California, if you've seen that type of difference. And since you have that community side to you, seeing that, how well has the community reached out to you just in the short time? Because how long have you been down here?
I think we just passed a month. A little bit over a month.
So in that, like, what's that community outreach been like?
Oh, it's been nonstop. And positive, so going out to the community, knowing the community, going out to neighborhoods, speaking at events. As a matter of fact, I'm speaking at an event tomorrow morning, and then I'm going to speak at a church service on Sunday morning. Again, like I'm out there, and you have to be. Yeah. And so it's been great. And this is why I can truly tell you, our communities don't want us to go away. I don't care what the outside noise is. Like, they want us to do our jobs right, but they want us there. Yeah. And you wouldn't know that unless you're out there, right? Yeah. And so it's been great, and it's an incredibly important part of the job, and I enjoy doing it.
That's good, because as a street level cop, one of the things that always concerns me is you'll get a loud minority, and if you have a chief that isn't getting out there and hearing what the real voices are, how do you distinguish between, is this a real problem? Is this outside pressure a real problem, or is this just a loud minority? I'm just curious how you go through that process as a chief.
Well, first and foremost, we are oftentimes our own worst enemy.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. We've done some terrible things that we have to own up for.
Yeah.
First things first. And so you really have to make sure that you when things are occurring, doing your research to figure things out, right, as to what the temperature is. But certainly, cops hearing that is important, because they're not insulated from the media any other way than anyone else. And when you're going call to call to call, you may not understand, man, they love you. I have a little bit more time when I go out into the community. I'll never forget going into neighborhoods. And I did this when I was in Dallas. I mean, I went to a neighborhood in South Central in Dallas, and whether I was talking to a Spanish-speaking ice cream vendor or an African-American beauty salon owner, both of them, as I'm walking out, I'll never forget walking out of the beauty salon one day after I was meeting with the business owner, and she goes, "Chief, don't forget about us down here," right? And this comes at a time, right, when I was getting media questions like, "Chief, how are you going to help mend community police relationships and the distrust and this and that and the other?" And I said, "Man, you guys are making a really big issue with this, which rightly so. At times we deserve it. But come to community meetings with me, and you'll hear my communities let me have it if I'm not providing them police resources. And in some cases, accuse the department of putting police resources in other more affluent areas instead of areas of need. And as not a single one takes me up on it.
Right.
But when I'm able to come back, I remember telling that story about the "don't forget about us down here, Chief," to my command staff at one of our ComStat meetings, because I felt it's important to go, your community loves you. All right. I know you may not all have the time to go out and see that. And for your patrol officers that are going call to call to call, there's they need to know that they love you. They need to know that they want you here, and you need to hear that, right? And so that's one of the most important reasons why I want to get out there.
Yeah.
So that I can honestly come in and say, hey, your community loves you. Like here in Fort Worth, our community loves you all. They love you all. And again, you're gonna have a portion that you're never gonna make happy, right? We have to just look in the mirror and stay on a path that we know we're doing the right thing and doing it for the right reasons.
Yeah, I agree. Man, that pumps me up that you're that way, because that's a concern. That is a thing that we will hear. An officer gets shown at a bad angle, and we know it's legit. We've got the option to see the body cam footage and all that stuff, but you got this loud minority going after it, and then all of a sudden you see the officer gets in trouble, and we're like, dang, like.
Well, listen, we need to hold ourselves accountable when we're wrong.
Yes, absolutely.
I'll stand right up there and say we're wrong.
Because with public support comes that ownage from guys like us. I don't want to lose that. No, I know I have such a good thing going.
It is a gift that we don't want to lose.
I'm not going to let you ruin that for me.
No, it's
so
a
if
gift.
You jack up as a cop in the street, I'm with you. I'm 100% on accountability.
And I've said this before, though. When we're right, regardless of what the outside noise is, right? And so, and again, we know that this is an imperfect profession.
Yes,
we're going to make mistakes, and we've made some atrocious mistakes, and we know that. We need to own up to that and then get better. But when we're right, also, we have to also be strong enough to say, hey, listen, we broke this down or what have you, and we have to be loud about it.
Yep.
I had a reporter ask me recently why we put the video out of the 2 officers saving that baby, right, this week. Awesome. And I said, she said, it's, I don't know, she's something to the effect of it's really moved people and X, Y, and Z. And I said, well, I think with all due respect, you answered your own question. Yeah. I said, too often we concentrate on the negative and maybe not to this extent, but officers are doing maybe not to this extent. We're literally saving a baby's life, but other amazing things that you never hear that happens day in, day in, day out. The hundreds of thousands of contacts that we make a year that don't end up in a forced situation or that don't end up in a negative interaction. We have to be loud about that.
Yes. Celebrate your wins. Yeah.
But when we're wrong, we also have to have to make sure credibility is there, that we're able to admit when we're wrong.
Yep.
But also, hey, when we do right, we're going to put that out as well.
Yes, I agree. That's one of the messages I've been trying to push out is I'm going to show the bad, but it's always going to be educational based. How can we improve? Because you always debrief, no matter what it is. So the way I look at things is, can we improve from this encounter? Here's where I see it being wrong. Here's where I see it could improve. But it's always about education, trying to improve things. And that video in particular, shout out to Bounds, by the way, is my boy.
Yeah.
It was awesome work by both of them. But seeing that, you may have just inspired a new cop. You may have just turned somebody's stone heart and softened it just a little bit towards policing. And go, okay, there's 2 good ones. Because they don't get to see that. Because like you said, what does the media focus in on? They focus in on the negative side of things. Why? Because if it bleeds, it leads, and all that crap. And I do not think we push hard enough to show the daily victories.
Those officers need so much credit. I'll tell you, I know you don't know this, I just found out this morning. So Attorney General Bondi called through her staff and wants to meet the officers.
Oh, that's great.
They're going out to DC in a couple of weeks to meet the general, meet the Attorney General. I mean, and I know they want us all to go. I'm still trying to see if I can make it or not. I would love to meet the Attorney General, but it's more important for those officers,
right,
and for that sergeant.
And real quick, Chief, the people that were involved with that, I know one was Bounds and the other one was
Sergeant Nichols.
Sergeant Nichols, yes. Yeah. Okay, yeah, awesome. Shout out Nichols.
Well, you always hear that statement like, "This doesn't build character; it reveals it."
Right.
Right. Yeah. That didn't build character; that revealed it.
Yes.
Right. That incident of those two officers. Yeah. So that was pretty awesome.
But the fact that the AG wants to meet them, I can tell you, I already know Bounds. He's gonna be like, oh, okay, Okay, I'll go. Like that's not him.
He's not.
It-
No, they
yeah.
both. I'm glad they're out there. And listen, at the end of the day, man,
Yeah.
it's not every day that the attorney general calls and wants to
Yeah.
meet you personally and
Oh, yeah.
fly you out to DC. So I'm so proud of those guys, and I'm happy.
I'm
for
just
them.
gonna keep saying Bound's name because this is gonna be seen in the department, and he's gonna be like, "Shut up, Levine! Stop saying my name." But no, he's a good guy. What were we talking about to even get into that? Things that officers do daily. Great, and I think that is a campaign that people could be, that departments should be copying all over the place. Now that was an extreme version. Like that doesn't get to happen every day.
Right.
But like you were saying, like the little things. Watching an officer help a kid fix his bike. In Texas, it's really popular to go put AC units in and help people get AC units and stuff like that. Help with groceries. All of those little things that we see daily that, since the media is not going to share it, the department should be sharing it. That's just my feeling. All departments.
No,
not just
but I will say honestly, I've had the luxury and really the good fortune of working really well with the media that they have put great things out.
Okay.
I know, like Scoop, I wanted to do something to highlight the work Homicide did, particularly after the week we had. So Scoop did highlighted the Homicide unit and what they do every single day, right?
Very cool.
And so I think having those relationships with media also helpful because you can put it out, but then they also are looking for good stories, right? And
Right.
so when we have one, we'll put. Now this one was a little bit different. We like to be our own voice, right? Which was great. But that works too. I mean, there's definitely good things that the media is doing for us with regards to putting good stories out.
Okay. Now, as far as coming into this role, one of the things that each chief does something different. Even new sergeants do something different. My style, I just got to the unit that I'm at maybe 4 months ago, maybe a little longer, but I'm with a bunch of seasoned guys. Like I'm not working with, I'm not out in the field with rookie officers anymore. I'm dealing with dudes that have more time on the department than me. So for me to come in, I'm sit back, observe, see if I need to do anything. What is your style? Because you're new. This is your first month. How are you coming into this? Are you
Honestly, my
a guns a-blazing guy?
no, kind of.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I'm building the plane as it flies, right? I'm not a wait. I don't have 100-day plan, right? Like if I think we can better the department, like in recruiting on day 2, then we need to do that on day 2, not wait like 100 days to do it, right? If there's a way to build morale on day 5, then do that. We're not going to wait 100 days to do it. So no, as things show up, certainly we'll do that. I mean, I don't know about guns a-blazing necessarily because I do want to be cognizant of culture and other things. And again, great relationship working with Lloyd and the union with regards to making big decisions or what have you. I don't want to make decisions without having them be a stakeholder. I've never operated that way. And so no, as we see things, we try to move on and fix them. And it's one of the dynamics of having done this twice before in major cities is that, I know that the expectation also, right?
Yeah.
From those that brought me here isn't that this person needs 6 months or a year to really get his feet underneath him because he's a brand new chief, right? So I'm cognizant of that as well, that it's a balance between, looking, watching, which I'm doing, and really taking action when I think things need to change for the better.
Gotcha. I was curious. I was like, well, I wonder if he's going to come in and just start making waves, saying, "Hey, I'm here," or if you're more of a sit back, wait, or have you done a bunch of homework prior to getting here?
Yeah, absolutely. I watched. Listen again. I watched Fort Worth from afar when I was in Dallas. Right.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, knew what things were going on. I was very good friends with Neil. We would talk all the time. I mean, I knew a lot about the department before I even, got here, right?
Yeah.
Even when I was working in Dallas, and Neil and I would have conversations all the time about things that are occurring, right? I mean, obviously, every department has their own culture. Be mindful to certainly appreciate that.
Yeah.
But no, absolutely. I did everything I could to get here. At the end of the day, again, cops are cops. And you just have to, there's only one way to learn, and that's the way to just get out there and understand things, right? Whether it be the politics or the community. And really that's how I learn.
Okay. So you've been here, you're a guns a-blazing guy. What are you looking at right now that you think you're ready to either change or add or anything like that big that the officers may want to know?
Well, I would just say this. My job, again, is to put our officers in the best place for them to use their amazing talents and succeed, right? We are going to bring criminologists in to look at the city and to come up with a criminological crime plan, right? That's going to be evaluated constantly. That's something big. One of the things that we need to get better at, and we're moving the needle, is our data, our technology, particularly as pertains to data. Making sure that we're drilling down in the right places, making sure that from an accountability perspective of the plans that we do we have the right people in the right places at the right times? But all that comes from data, right? And being data driven, having as close to real time data to make real time decisions, not week data to make decisions today. And so looking at that, how do we strengthen that? How do we refine how we're pulling data? Technology, again, looking at things technologically that can make the jobs of our cops easier.
Is there any particular technology that you're excited about looking at, or anything like that other officers may need to look into?
I'm excited about the technology we're hopefully about to get with Peregrine. But,
the Peregrine stuff. I was curious if there's certain pieces of tech.
But no, not yet. I mean, again, like just thinking of different things, like, man, is there a way to be able to, we have to really start looking, always in the backdrop of being CJIS compliant, but we really have to start looking at AI and how AI is going to kind of commingle with law enforcement, because I know that can make our jobs easier, but you also have to make sure that things are CJIS compliant and proper. But I think it's an exciting time because of that technology to do things that would have taken me hours to do.
Yeah.
That could take that just simple things on a day-to-day basis that our patrol officers have to do that we have to be able to help them with the tech that's there. And so looking at those different ways. But really the biggest thing is really from a crime plan perspective, from putting the officers in the best places for them to succeed, is one of the things that we're really looking at. Okay.
Interesting. I like that. I like any time that you can take, you're not just chasing a hot spot on a map. You're actually putting the data behind this. Is now we're getting into the micro. This is why I'm
we will be into the micro. Yes.
Yes. And that is, man, that's intelligence-based policing, not just where I feel that this spot needs to be covered.
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yeah. And you'll get that. The community, they feel sometimes, oh, this is a problem area. And you look, you're like, well, it's not really. Yeah, I know it feels that way, but here's what the data's showing. And when you talk to those intel units, they'll tell you too.
Right.
They're tracking a lot of that stuff. So that's exciting. I'm glad you're excited about that.
Very excited.
That's the nerd side of me. I like the tech side of things, and really, as you can see, get into it. I've got a whole nerd setup in here. Star Wars is kind of my theme.
That's your thing?
Yeah, that's my thing. Yeah. Okay. People think that it's red and blue because of policing. It's not. Light side, dark side.
Okay. Oh, well, all right. I'm seeing that.
They got a lightsaber.
And you got
a
lightsaber.
Yeah.
Wow. I mean, I'm into Star Wars too, but not to this extent.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. I'm big into it. Super.
Are you more with the older ones or the newer ones?
All of them.
All of them.
All of them. Even the bad ones.
There's the bad ones.
There are some bad ones. Yeah. Don't get me started. But yeah, that makes me pretty pumped up that you're into that. Anything else, the little tidbits you can give us as far as where you're excited about that you're moving towards? I don't want to get too deep into it.
No, I'll just get general. I mean, one of the things is that, I'm really looking at ways to give back to patrol. And so really, and I've had these conversations with Lloyd. I don't think we're there yet.
I tried, guys.
Yeah,
I tried.
You did try. He's not the first. I'm sure he won't be the last. Yeah. But looking at ways to not necessarily just to make patrols' lives easier.
Yeah.
Listen, I spent more time in special operations than I did in patrol in my career. But patrol is the number. The patrol is the heart, right? And I truly believe that. And I know a lot of times you hear the cliche, patrol is the backbone of a department, but seldom do chiefs actually do anything to back that up. And so I want to change that to say it and do it. We're looking at ways to integrate the corporal rank into patrol somehow.
Thank you.
Looking at that, we're gonna get the new radios in patrol, not necessarily in the academy, so that officers that are actually in the field can have some of the newer radios. So we're going to try to implement that sometime in the spring because there's a funding issue to get at least at the FTOs.
Can we update the tracking with those? because think about this from a real-time crime perspective. When they're out there, if we can see them on the map, because a lot of times, let's say the body cam gets knocked off or they're separated from their patrol car, yeah, I think it'd be highly beneficial if at least their sergeant in the field or the real-time crime center can track like a Blue Force tracker.
If we can do that, absolutely, we would do that.
It's there. The capability is there.
Well, if it's there, I mean, I would prefer we do that.
I mean,
but
I'm trying, guys. I'm asking.
I'll say it from obviously, I don't know how we would disagree with that. I mean, how amazing that would be to have that capability to do that. But yeah, anyway, but at the end of the day is looking at patrol to really, when you say they're the backbone, I want them to feel that they are, right? And so those are kind of where my plans are. I was rebuilding the department. They're doing well on recruiting. Understanding that
recruiting's going well.
Recruiting's going well.
I haven't heard about recruiting in a while, so just
recruiting's going well.
That's good.
I think we have like 50 some odd that start Monday, and I think on this last that's going to start sometime in the first of the year. Hopefully, we get into the 70s with regards to that academy class. We should be at full staffing by the end of next year. And I say full staffing, I say it in quotes because we need more than 1906 or whatever our authorized staffing level is.
Yeah.
And so hopefully going from there as the city continues to grow, and recognizing that our specialized units that do an amazing job, right? And their role is to assist patrol. And if they're, they're doing exactly that, they need to be doing that, then I sleep well, making sure that their units are fully staffed as to the extent that we can, little by little, but understanding that the majority of these kids coming out of the academy and FTO program are going to patrol. Yep. We need to have our patrol numbers up. And so that's a point of emphasis for me.
Okay.
And so as I'm looking at things to do, generally speaking, they revolve around really the morale, building morale and making sure that when I say they're important, I do things to make them feel they're important.
That's good. Yeah, they're going to love that. Because I think the city's roughly similar size to Baltimore. I think that's what they compare it to a lot of times. And Baltimore's like 3,500 cops, or that's what they're allotted for. So that makes sense. If you can jump those numbers from 1,900, that would be huge. Yeah.
Well, and I don't think there's a lot of reservation. I think everyone understands within the city that we're going to need to grow. Yeah. As the city grows and we continue to annex areas of the city, we have to start planning for it. Yeah. Right. And it's funny when I heard Mayor Moncrief, former Mayor Moncrief, speak at an event, and he said when he was mayor, I think he said something like Fort Worth was like the 23rd largest city in the country. Right. Yeah. And what, 2 mayors after Mayor Price and now with Mayor Parker, like now we're like the 10th or 11th largest city in the country, right? Yeah. And that's just going to continue to grow, particularly as we continue to annex areas. So as we are looking at the development of the city and as it grows, and we also have to make sure that that development goes with the growth of a department. And so I definitely see us having a conversation once we get to 1,900, right? That we should be there by the end of next year. That's when we really have to start having the conversation. Okay, we need to be at 2,200. Yeah. Right. And as the city continues to grow, we have to grow.
All right, Chief. So one other thing, use of force always is a hot topic with patrol, and we know how it goes. Confidence in your training, confidence in your leadership is what makes or break how uses of force goes. I used to be a use of force instructor, control tactics instructor, and stuff like that. And what I've always noticed is that the more confident that we are in our training, the more confident we are in our leadership having our back, the quicker, faster we end up handling a use of force in a proper way. But not everything's black and white. Every once in a while, we'll get a use of force that's like, oh, it's like on the fence. You're like, I could see it kind of going this way. I could see it kind of going that way. Officers are always wondering, like, how does the chief think through these processes? Like, how do you start breaking down when you have an officer that gets involved in a use of force that makes it to you?
That makes it to me. I mean, I guess, obviously understanding first and foremost, force is not a choreographed dance. Yep. I remember in my academy, they talked the Bob Koga techniques and things of that nature. Yeah. That's how old I go back to the techniques they taught, right? And when someone doesn't want to go to jail, it's not a choreographed dance. So I come in, I guess, already recognizing that, right? And, obviously the report writing is incredibly important. Ensuring you're justifying what you're doing every step of the way. Also, you know, the body cam video obviously is incredibly important, and if it gets to me, I would dissect that, right? You know, the attitudes and things of that nature of both individuals, right? I use the Graham versus Connor. I mean, I'm a Graham versus Connor guy. I mean, that is what we're judged by in the law of the land, right? And so I really use that technique. Also, you know, what was the initial contact as to what occurred, right? And so all those things are going through my head, but literally breaking down the body cam. And again, you know, that body cam, to your point, I mean, it has saved more officers than it's hurt.
Yeah, agreed.
And that piece of equipment has helped me be able to justify, you know, actions because I see what I see regardless of what the outside noise is. And so I come in on things with I guess you would say an open mind, recognizing, number one, that, you know, force sometimes has to be used on people that don't want to go to jail. If they don't want to go to jail and they want to fight you or don't want to go, I mean, force is part of what we do. But was the force appropriate? And those type of things. And not every issue is the same.
Yeah.
Right. And so again, but I recognize not the choreographed dance. So really dissecting the report and looking at the you know, the reasoning behind it and what the video looks like. And I don't mean looks like from, oh my God, because it's going to be chaos.
Yeah.
I mean, what the video looks like with regards to the type of force, the application of the force.
Force never looks good.
It doesn't.
It's never going to look good.
But if you go into it knowing it never looks good and you're looking for the elements that either make it justified or not justified, that's how I come into those situations.
Okay. Fair enough. Good. It's always, especially when you get a new chief, that's one of the first things that these guys, because they want to do their job, but damn, like you got a chief coming out from California. Now, luckily for you, you had some Dallas time, so they got something to go off of. And I, like I said, from some of the Dallas guys that I talked to, nothing bad, nothing where they were like, I didn't feel like I couldn't do my job.
No, I again, and particularly just, you know, when it comes to the force situations, there's always difficult decisions that a chief has to make, right? But honestly, again, and it goes the same thing. When we're wrong, we have to say we're wrong. But when we're right, and this is what it comes back. When I talk about when we're wrong, we're right, that we talked previously, we're talking about the most polarizing issue, and that's the force issue. That's what we get held accountable more for anything else, right? But it's important to really take a look at it with a fresh look and an open mind when you're really dissecting it. And again, I can't give you a specific answer as to how I view force other than, you know, I look at it recognizing and understanding that I'm not going to be shocked by what I see, whether it's justified or not, because it's chaotic.
Yeah.
And already having that in my brain as I look as the force is applicated and things of that nature is how I would render a decision and make a decision on it.
Yeah. And I don't think anybody that hears me asking that question is expecting a clean answer, because you can't give one unless we're sitting here watching a video.
Yeah, I mean, exactly.
But hearing you go through your steps and what you're thinking, I think it does put minds at ease. We're like, okay, so he's a regular dude. Like he gets it. Like you've been in some knockdown dragouts, I'm assuming, in your career.
Yes.
Especially policing in the early 90s. And I don't know if all the movies are true, but Northern California especially, seem to have some big criminal issues going on, at least in all the early 90s movies that we watched.
It was California's changed quite a bit.
Was the movie Colors like one of your favorite movies? With Pac-Man, remember?
Colors is a good one.
It is a good movie. Yeah. It has some cheesy parts, but
it's a good one.
But as far as learning the gangs and all that stuff back in the day,
but the best movie, I think, what is it? End of Watch?
Okay, so you're End of Watch guy.
Oh my God, the End of Watch. I'll be honest with you, right? So I've always said this, End of Watch, watching the banter, watching the interaction. Right. I said, whatever technical, if they had a cop be that technical advisor.
Yes.
Honestly, to me, I hate the ending. The ending kills me.
Yeah, and then Southland. That was another good one.
I didn't see that.
I think that was out of California,
But the best movie, and I heard there's coming a part 2, the best movie of my time will always be Heat.
Oh, yes.
Michael Mann, the best crime drama of my time anyway.
Yeah.
Will be.
That was
I
Al
heard there's a part 2.
And
Pacino, De Niro, Val Kilmer.
Yeah. Oh, man.
That was awesome.
That was
great.
That was such a great.
It was a great
when
movie.
they sit down and they talk at the diner and they're talking about there'll come a time when I'm on the other side. He's like, I won't hesitate. I'm like, oh my god.
No, they were
so gangster.
Yeah,
That's cool. That's
movie.
cool. And then just personally, like, we kind of foreshadowed on this earlier. You said sergeants are the backbone.
Yeah.
And I'm 100% behind that. Not because I'm a sergeant now, but this was prior getting into that spot. Every time I see, we'll go micro. Anytime I see a unit fail or succeed, it's always a good or bad sergeant behind it. It's not the officers. You can only do as well as you're led. And that sergeant's that conduit between upper leadership and what's going on the ground. They're the last line, and then everybody else sits in an office. For the most part, there's certain ones that, like Robin Krause, I don't think that guy's ever sat fully behind a desk. But you get some outliers like that. But what is your view right now for the sergeants, and how do you manage sergeants from your level? Like, what's your outlook for sergeants?
Well, I mean, my outlook for sergeants is for them to know that, from my perspective, I respect their role. I mean, I would tell every sergeant the same thing I tell you, that it's the most important rank in the department. They're where the rubber meets the road, right? That they're where policy meets practice. And knowing that with that respect, though, comes with great responsibility, right? My expectation is you supervise. You don't over-supervise, but you actively supervise. Because, we have to when I was 21 years old, I needed good supervision.
Yeah.
All right. I needed a good sergeant.
I wasn't ready to be a cop at 21.
Like I was.
If I'm being honest, I don't think I was.
So I needed someone to guide me and show me, right?
Yeah.
And our sergeants need to recognize how important they are, and with that importance comes that responsibility to be there.
Yep.
You got to learn how to be a sergeant too. I would like to see more time as a corporal before you're a sergeant.
Yep.
I just think you need to have a little bit more to be able to be a sergeant, right?
And sergeants need to be willing to mentor.
Well, I was going to get to that.
Yeah,
there's got to be but you're 100% right. We need to have, and again, looking through this, what is our mentorship program? Do we have that? Or do we just say, hey, you're promoted at the promotional ceremony, go out on Monday, you meet your team.
Yeah.
Right. What are we doing? Is there, so what are we doing to prepare them properly? And obviously your admin goes through the roof, from officer, corporal to sergeant, from injury reports and accident reports and,
blue teams and all that stuff.
All that stuff. Right. Yeah. So what are we doing to train them? Right. Because knowledge is power. And what I mean by that, whether you're speaking to a crowd of 10,000 or whether you're doing a duty as a sergeant, the more knowledgeable you are, the better you will be.
Yes.
Right, of just knowing those things, right? The more knowledgeable you are about a particular topic, you can talk all day to a crowd of 10,000 and do it confidently. And the same thing goes everywhere down the rank structure, right? And so really listening to our sergeants is important. As a matter of fact, I know we're working on updating the pursuit policy as an example, right? But one of the things we did, right, is we brought a group of sergeants in to have a conversation with them about and make them stakeholders. Make them feel that they're part of the decision-making process. Now, we necessarily going to do that every single time, but on this particular issue, we had a particular issue that I said, listen, bring the sergeants in and hear from them.
Yeah.
Right? I haven't been a sergeant since, a long time. And so really empowering them, and trusting them, are some of the messages that I would give them for sure.
Yeah. One of the things that historically, now I'm military, some will make fun of me because I'm Air Force, so it's quasi-military. We'll give them that. But military, the one thing that military will do in any branch is from day one, you are being trained and mentored to handle the person's job that's ahead of you. And I think policing is only just now catching up to that. So for sergeants, and when I'm, hopefully there's some sergeants that listen to this, that's one of the things that I recommend. Like even me right now, I'm a sergeant, but I have a senior sergeant that I work with, and he's mentoring me. And I think it's awesome because he's got so much more experience. But he's prior military too. So he understands that role of always trying to get the person that's going to take over your job. Because eventually I'm going to take his spot. He's in the drop. He doesn't have super long. So that is one of the things I look at. And you weren't military prior, correct?
was in the reserves.
Oh, you was reserve?
Earlier, yeah.
Oh, no shit.
Yeah.
For who?
Army.
Okay. You didn't get too high on your ass fab. That's cool.
What?
That's cool. Sorry, a little ball busting.
Army and the National
yeah.
Guard. But yeah, okay. Well, you did bust them.
Yeah. Well, a lot of times the Army will go, it's cool. Air Force is our little sister. You're welcome for your branch because we wouldn't be here without the Army. If for those that don't know, historically, the Air Force actually it was the Army Air Force, and then we branched off onto our own. So, but where was I going with that? I went down a rabbit hole. Mentoring. So in policing, one of the things that I hope the sergeants out there listening for is that it's your job. If we do the corporal role, it's going to be even bigger that you help mentor the corporals without just making them do your job. Like, cause I could see that being a thing where they're like, all right, handle the blue team. Like, no, you gotta help them learn how to do your position. So when that time comes,
right.
They're ready. They're set for success. So, no, that's really cool. I'm really excited about the corporal side of things. But, Chief, that's really all I got. I know you got time constraints and whatnot. Just to end it, like, what do you like to do for fun? Where can these guys buy you a beer? I'm just kidding.
Oh, geez, I would like to. Well, again, I said this before. I was a Dallas Cowboy fan before I spoke English.
Okay, I would make fun of you, but I'm a Lions fan.
Okay,
so you can see him on the wall there.
but you guys are doing much better than we are right now.
We've never won a Super Bowl.
I like for fun. I like to get in the gym. I like to go to good dinners. And watch sports. Right, I love watching football, college and pro.
Okay, so football guy. When you go to the gym now, are you like a hit guy, or are you lifting heavy weights? Like,
I don't know about heavy weights, but I'm in the gym. I see this guy.
Naviolic for those ones.
I can see this guy in the mornings. I get up at 5 every morning. I do my cardio.
Yeah, he does hot yoga. I heard.
And then I do my cardio, then I go to the gym and take Sundays off. I enjoy doing that. I enjoy going to games, enjoy sporting events. I enjoy visiting my kids. My daughter lives here, but one of my sons lives in California. The other one lives in Kansas. So and I have a grandson.
Oh,
so
you're a grandpa.
No, I'm a grandpa. Yeah,
you don't look like a grandpa.
Yeah, well, thank you. But yeah, I'm looking forward to visiting him in a couple weeks and see my little guy.
Heck yeah.
And so again, and I'll be honest with you, man. I tell you, some people tell me I'm nuts sometimes, but like I like to go out on patrol. Right,
no,
like I enjoy doing that.
I think that's awesome,
even after a 70-hour work week.
Okay, so what do you go out to patrol? There's going to be officers that hear this. What's your advice for them if they're the unlucky sucker that has to have the chief ride with them?
We're gonna have fun.
Okay,
that's what I would say. We're gonna have fun. We're gonna have fun.
Yeah,
that's what we would do.
Yeah.
We're gonna have a good time. And I love going out with cops and seeing how things are, man.
Yeah.
And how it's funny how things have changed and how some things haven't changed.
Right.
I went on patrol in East, and in the middle of the night, the entire team, we went to a taqueria truck that was there, a taco truck that was there.
Oh yeah.
And
was it the one on Rosedale?
I can't remember where it was.
There's a good one off of Ayers and Rosedale.
It may have been. But anyway, we had dinner on the hood of a car, man.
Heck yeah.
And I'm like, and I remember I tweeted our ex, whatever you call it, tweeted it, whatever the heck you want to call it.
Twittered it.
It was, again, that was just brought me back to like 92, man. It was like, so how some things have changed, other things haven't. The camaraderie, man. And it was
that's
awesome.
a good side of town for it.
They were.
One of the closer sides of
town. They were. But things have changed, and obviously, I do want to mention just how important wellness is to me.
I was just gonna. So you work out. What you're telling me, Chief, is that there's no excuse to not get in the gym once in a while.
No, honestly, there's no excuse. There's no excuse not to get in the gym, but for mental wellness, right? For our officers, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I just met with AWA and our 3 program the other day, just about what they're doing and the partnership that we have, and make sure that our cops are mentally fit and they know the tools that and things like that. So that's important. But yeah, those are the things that I like to do for fun. This weekend I got to work tomorrow morning, and then I got to work Sunday morning. But in between, I'll try to relax a little bit.
There might be some fun tonight, so just so you know.
Well,
it's Halloween.
It is Halloween. Yeah. I might just chill. Tonight.
So I would not be surprised if you didn't get a phone call. So
don't put that out in the universe, bro.
Would you want me to say the opposite?
No, I would rather you not say anything. What is wrong with you putting that out into the universe?
Oh, all right, Chief. I'm going to let you get back to your job. I really appreciate you taking the time to do this. And I'm going to say it on the camera. Like, bro, you are a cop's cop. Like, I love it. Again, I like to consider myself a human bullshit detector. I look for one thing. the glint in the eye when they talk about the job. If I can see that, I know it's true. So really appreciate your time. I wish you nothing but success now that you're here. Really glad to have you. And that's all I got. Thank you, sir.
All right. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Appreciate you,
All
brother.
right. Thank you.